period, period, period. So, let's talk about the word period. As a basic part of English grammar, it can be classified as a noun or sometimes even a verb depending on the context in which it's used. In general, when people say period, they're referring to a punctuation mark, specifically the full stop, that's used at the end of a sentence to indicate its completion. However, beyond this literal meaning, period can also be used as an adjective or a noun to describe a specific point in time. Like in the phrase, "this period of my life." What's interesting is that it can also refer to a part of something else. Like a period in history, a menstrual cycle, in which case we're talking about a completely different context, or even a period on a calendar. When using period as a noun, be mindful that its meaning might change based on the words surrounding it. For example, if you say, "the period was very exciting," people are more likely to think of an event in history rather than a punctuation mark. When discussing the concept of periods in everyday life, it's essential to consider different contexts where this word is used. In a formal setting, such as a university lecture or a scientific presentation, saying, "the new medication has been observed to have an unpredictable period of effectiveness," can convey complex information about medication efficacy in a structured manner. In casual conversations, like grabbing coffee with friends, people might say, "I'm running late because my period is being really unpredictable this month," to share their personal health issues and get sympathy from others. This usage allows individuals to quickly convey essential information without feeling too self-conscious or awkward. In the business world, such as a sales meeting or a conference presentation, saying, "the marketing campaign will run for a 6-month period before re-evaluation," is a concise way to discuss marketing strategy and timelines with colleagues or investors. So you're trying to learn about this word that we use to talk about time, right? Well, think of it like a big pause in between two events or actions. It's a moment when something ends and something new is about to start. In many cultures, it's a significant point because it marks the end of one thing and the beginning of another, kind of like a bookend that keeps everything separate. You might also hear people talk about it as a stop or a break in time. But technically those aren't exactly what we're looking for. What we mean by this word is actually more like an invisible line that divides one part of something from another, and it's really helpful to understand because it shows up all the time in our daily conversations and schedules. Policy, policy, policy. The word policy can be quite fascinating. As a noun, it typically refers to a set of principles or procedures used in making decisions or taking actions within an organization, institution, or government. In common usage, you'll often hear people talk about employment policies, health insurance policies, or even foreign policy. It's also worth noting that policy can sometimes be used as a verb, meaning to make or decide on something. For example, "the company will policy out the details next month." However, this usage is less common and might not be widely understood. One special note about policy is its relationship with procedure, which refers to specific steps taken to carry out a policy. Think of it like a detailed plan of action. So, when discussing policies in everyday conversations or academic contexts, keep these nuances in mind. In formal usage, such as in an official government announcement, you might say, "the new tax policy aims to stimulate economic growth by providing incentives for small businesses." This sentence implies a formal and authoritative tone, which is suitable for official statements. In casual conversation, like discussing current events with friends over coffee, you could say, "I don't agree with the company's new policy on paid time off. It seems unfair to me." This usage suggests a more relaxed and conversational tone, where opinions and disagreements are freely shared. For business or academic usage, as in a research paper on organizational management, you might write, "The implementation of a comprehensive diversity policy can lead to increased employee satisfaction and retention rates among top talent." So you're trying to understand what a guideline is in English. A guideline is basically a set of rules or principles that are established to help guide people's behavior or decision making in a particular situation. It's like a roadmap that shows everyone where they should be going and how to get there. Main characteristics of a guideline include being clear, specific, and widely accepted, so everyone knows what it means and what's expected of them. Similar concepts or synonyms for guideline might include rule, standard, protocol, or even just rules. What it does is provide a sense of direction and structure to help people make good choices and avoid mistakes. It's often used in situations where there are repeated tasks, such as business procedures, health and safety protocols, or social norms, basically anything that needs to be done consistently across the board. Does that make sense? Principle. 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 The word principle is a noun that refers to a fundamental idea or value that serves as a guiding rule or code of behavior, especially in a particular context such as ethics, morality, or philosophy. In common usage, we often talk about personal principles like honesty, integrity, and fairness, which are essential for building trust and respect with others. However, it's worth noting that principle is sometimes confused with the word principal, which has a completely different meaning, referring to the head of a school or an institution, or a large sum of money. But when we say someone has strong principles, we mean they have a solid set of values and morals that guide their actions and decisions. So I was talking to my friend Emma yesterday, and she mentioned that her company is based on a core principle of transparency in all their business dealings, which got me thinking about how we use this word in different contexts. A formal usage would be something like, "As a respected member of the academic community, I firmly believe that every researcher should adhere to the highest ethical principles when conducting experiments." Here, principle is used to convey a fundamental truth or standard, implying a sense of universality and importance. In a more casual conversation, you might say something like, "I'm all about living life on my own principle. I don't believe in following the crowd just because everyone else is doing it." In this example, Emma uses principle to mean a personal guiding philosophy or set of values that influence her decisions and behavior. It's a way of asserting individuality and autonomy. In business or academic settings, you might say something like, "Our research paper will focus on applying the principle of Occam's razor to simplify complex data sets." Here, principle is used as a technical term in a specific discipline, referring to a fundamental concept or method that guides analysis or decision-making. So, you know how we have rules and guidelines in life that help us make decisions and behave in certain ways? Like, for instance, the idea of fairness and equality? Well, a principle is basically a fundamental rule or truth that guides how people think and act. It's a kind of underlying value or standard that helps us decide what's right or wrong. Think of it like a North Star, even if we're not always following it exactly. It's there to give us direction and help us make choices that are true to who we are. Some similar concepts might be things like ethics or values. But a principle is more like a core idea that shapes how we think and behave. It's used in all sorts of areas, like education, business, and even personal relationships, really anything where people need to make decisions based on some kind of guiding truth.